Welcome, listeners, to Thru the Sightglass, a podcast that dives deep into the fascinating world of craft beer and celebrates the incredible individuals who shape its vibrant landscape. Join us on a journey where we explore the nuances of this amazing industry and the remarkable people who contribute to its richness and diversity. And today we get to sit down with Tod and Woody of Tributary Brewing. Thank you for making time for us. We sincerely appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, glad to have y'all. So we just introduced y'all a little bit, but for the people who are listening, if you'll quickly say your name and kind of your role here at Tributary.
So my name is Todd Mott. My wife and I started Tributary 10 years ago. We've been running it, by ourselves, except Woody came on board about 5 years ago.
Oh, nice.
And Woody started at the bottom. There's a long story behind
We'll
Woody.
get into it. We'll get into
like
it.
That.
But yeah, Galen and I started 10 years ago, and so I'm the lackey of all trades. I do it all. I've done it all. I'm tired of it all.
You wear many caps. Yeah. A while of wearing many caps, you're like, you know what? I'm going to take some of the responsibility and stress off myself. I'm going to start to delegate.
Well, that is happening.
Good.
That we'll get into a little bit later.
Yes.
And I am Woody Mott. I am the head of operations. Todd gave me the keys to the Ferrari about 4 years ago. Had some hiccups along the way.
It's actually a transit.
Ford Transit.
But, being a very small brewery, we're only doing 700 to 900 barrels a year. We're all wearing many hats along the way. So
Nice.
I'm right there with them.
I want y'all to let you know that y'all aren't the only brewery that is wearing many hats for your position. So y'all are right there. So love it. So
Everybody.
much. Everybody.
Yeah.
Contributes.
Yes.
I feel like you have to, or some people just like to. They like to be that involved.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's totally great. So introduce yourself, but where did y'all grow up?
So we raised most of the family in the Boston area for 22 years, and then I got a job. Another long story. I've been in the industry for 35 years.
Wow.
And the job I had before Tributary was the Portsmouth Brewery, and I got that while my daughter Lee was in Boston Latin. Okay. And Boston Latin is one of the premier high schools in the state. It was a feeder school for Harvard.
Okay.
Damn.
And one thing I didn't want to do was mess her life up. As a junior in high school, the last thing you wanted to do was yank them out of high school and move them to Maine.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we held off. I commuted between Boston and Portsmouth, and then we moved in 2005 when Woody was going from 7th to 8th grade. And he transitioned into junior high school for 1 year and got to know his mates there, and then transitioned into the high school the next year. So, they were the little punks. And I got the crap beat out of them all the time. And Woody, let me preface this, Woody used to have an afro.
Nice.
Pretty serious
Who didn't
afro.
have an afro back there? My older brother had an afro too. So yeah.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So were you and your sister ever in school together, or was the age gap far enough apart that it's like you went into high school alone and she was off into college?
That's pretty much it. She went to UVM starting in the fall of 2005. Mm-hmm. And as Todd mentioned, we had moved up here in August. Uh-huh. So we got to drop her off, and it was a serendipitous little trip because I got to meet Paul Saylor and John Kimmick.
Damn.
Everything's beer related in our family. Most vacations revolve around what brewery is where. And, Todd's old chums with those guys from going to the Vermont Brewers Festival. And,
wow.
He was even you were an intern with Paul back in 89 or something?
Yeah,
like that?
at Catamount when they were in White River Junction.
Okay.
Wow.
And actually, Paul was a paid brewer. I was an intern getting paid weekly. Very weekly.
As I'd say, and if it was late, it was probably beer.
Oh, there was some beer involved.
Here's some beer that may not pay the rent, but it'll get you through.
But the one thing about Catamount was they pushed the idea that you don't work for free, and beer is not a payment. You did get paid, but Again, it was not very much, but you got paid. But the learning experience was incredible. You know,
Yeah.
hands-on brewing is the most important. You know, you can be learned. You can go to UC Davis, you can go to all the other schools, but actually hands-on brewing is the way to really learn the trade.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a brewer, but he is, and I would absolutely testament to that. Of you can learn all that you can, but until you're there doing it, you don't know. So,
Yeah, there's another depth of knowledge when you get to put your hands on whatever you're doing and like go through the motions.
Physically,
And yes, so
And taking copious notes.
Yes.
yes, lots of trial and error.
Absolutely.
Lots of trial and error.
Go back to look at it. So essentially, you grew up in Maine towards the end of your
So he spent high school.
high school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and high school was a lot of fun. I did have the afro, you know, if you can envision Carrot Top. It was a lot like
I love
that.
it. So
Hey,
much.
beautiful.
Yeah. I
But no beard.
yeah, not yet. Had some peach fuzz, but that's about it.
There you go.
But you know, it was an incredible high school. It was an incredible life up to then. You know, I have lots of memories of Tod and I going roller skating when I was probably 5 years old.
Oh,
missing
nice.
teeth and all that.
Yeah.
And he and my mom gave me a very lovely life.
Love that.
Wonderful.
And-
What did mom do at this time too? I didn't know if it's typical stay at home or.
She was the breadwinner.
Oh, okay, there you go.
So Galen worked in museums for quite a while.
Oh, amazing.
While in Boston, she was at the Museum of Fine Arts in the registrar's department. She was one of the recorders.
Oh, wow.
So we had, health insurance and good things that you need.
That was helpful for kids in the
And-
80s and 90s.
and I was pursuing my master's in ceramics
Oh, wonderful.
at Boston University when they had a program. And so, long story short, is Galen was left the museum and became a decorative painter, and learned all these different techniques from a master technician named Leonard Pardon. And she went to Manhattan to learn painting.
Wow.
And then she started doing decorative painting for many, many years. And again, very, very lucrative. So that enabled me to be a very short-paid brewer.
But have passion and love for sure.
Oh,
Love
yeah.
that so much.
Well, obviously, creativity and arts does not stall in the family.
No,
Yeah.
no. Beer is art and science. It's
Yeah.
all there is to it.
We have seen that across the podcasts that we've done. Y'all
Yeah.
are number 42.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
For
And I think
us.
over half of them have like a fine art degree.
Fine art
Yeah.
or science of some type. So it's definitely in the trades
Yeah.
for sure of
Yeah.
that science and art. So
Sure.
it's both, I think, for sure. So I love that so much. But I want to kind of go into, I know you probably grew up drinking of some sort or knew about beer, obviously.
I will say too, I think this is the first time that we've interviewed
We've never...
that like beer like runs in the family.
Yeah.
Usually it's like home brewing, but I think you guys might be the first people where it's actually embedded into.
yeah.
Oh, we did some home brewing.
Oh,
Well, yeah, of course, of course. But it's just
Woody
different.
capped the crowns.
Oh, there you go.
I love that. How did you get into beer?
Galen gave me a homebrew kit.
Okay.
So I was at BU firing kilns. Actually, I went to the Kansas City Art Institute, got a BFA, and then I went to Boston University, got an MFA.
Oh, okay.
And when you fire kilns, it's an endeavor. It's usually upwards of 24 to 48 hours, depending on the style of kiln.
Okay.
Wood-fired kilns are 48 to 72 hours. It's pretty labor intensive. You got to get all the wood. You got to cut all the wood. You got to stack the kiln, start the fire, and keep the fire going. But that involves a lot of beer.
Yeah.
Right.
Back in that days, we were buying suitcases of beer, and then, I'm not going to name any names, but they were, big fuzzy yellow beers that
Yes.
you just basically rented for a little while.
There you
And,
go.
But
That's perfect.
while I was in Boston, there were a bunch of really cool bars around, and I got a taste for craft beer.
Mm-hmm.
And Sierra Nevada was pretty prominent around the Boston scene, as were quite a few smaller breweries, including Sam Adams.
Okay.
They came out in, I think it was '86 or something. So Yeah, well, firing kilns took a lot of time and effort and a lot of beer.
Gotcha.
A lot of beer. So you would drink the beer while you were firing the kilns.
Absolutely.
Got it. That
Didn't know it
makes
was laying the
sense.
groundwork for
what
another
would-
project
what
in the
would come.
future.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love that so much. So she gets you a homebrew.
A little homebrew kit because I was buying all this beer and she's
Yeah.
like, well, you can make your own beer. I was like, oh, come on.
Did she enjoy the beer too? Like, was she enjoying?
She does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. And so over the course of a couple of years, I went from just homebrewing to entering homebrew competitions. I used to enter homebrew competitions that like all these really, they're all famous brewers now, Garrett, Oliver,
Yeah.
Phil Markowski, Ron Page. There were just a whole bunch of them on the
Right.
East Coast.
Yeah.
And that's who I
Was
competed
homebrewing
with.
with. Oh my
Wow.
gosh.
And it was
That's
it was
incredible.
pretty cool.
Yeah. That's so
Now I look. Actually, we're the beer summit. The Maine Beer Summit is March 7th, and Woody's going to be presenting there.
Congrats.
I'm going to be on a panel with a bunch of old guys.
Heck yeah.
So like Sam Calagione and Kai
yeah.
Adams and Jason Perkins.
Wow.
And so I called it the old fart panel.
No, I love that.
But I mean, it is so cool to like. I don't know. We like we said, we didn't get to like talk to people who have like grown up like in this industry the way that y'all have, and I think that's just it's very cool to be able to sit down and like hear some of the stories. And we're okay if you're long-winded, so don't worry about it.
I tend to be very long-winded.
Long-winded and tends to go on tangents.
Yeah,
We'll be here for
very.
a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have nothing
You want
else
an
planned
hour
for
or
the
two?
day.
Whatever
We'll take
y'all
what we
want.
could get.
Yeah, we're just excited to be here. So thank y'all so much.
Cool.
Okay,
But-
so go ahead.
I was just going to chime in that.
Yes, please.
Yeah,
I
what was
have-
your homebrewing experience at 8 years old? Or
Well, so
Came a little bit later.
I'd say these earliest memories revolving around beer usually involved grabbing like equipment and playing like dress up and stuff like that. Like,
Oh, nice.
Taking corny kegs and like the hoses and using that as like a scuba diver,
scuba tank.
oxygen
Oh,
tank,
that's
and
awesome.
regulator. So it's always had its place in my life. Growing up, I remember going to a lot of different breweries. I was definitely a brewery kid, and I know that there's a lot of back and forth these days as to whether kids should be allowed in breweries or not. And I definitely am in the camp that welcomes them, because I was definitely one of those kids running around and laying in booths and just bored out of their mind.
Taking triclover clamps and gaskets and
Yeah.
putting parts together on
Right.
tanks.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
And it was
How young did you have me doing that at Back Bay?
that was at Back Bay Brewing Company. So you were probably 6, 7.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
wild.
you might be the oldest brewer in the industry we've met.
And the chef was making breakfast we had a class visit, Woody's class visit,
Kindergartners.
Visit the brewery.
4 years old.
Oh, that's
to
awesome.
visit the brewery for breakfast.
For breakfast.
Before we opened, and Ed made like French toast
Yeah, I
and
think so.
bacon and home fries and all this really great food. But while they were doing that, making food, we were in the brewery just, chatting with the kids.
Yeah.
They didn't know what the hell I was talking
Yeah.
about. But Woody was kind of putting together a little,
Showing off.
a little
This is a
robot.
transfer line.
Here, let me just dry hop for you real fast. It's
Exactly.
okay. I
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah, Dad, I don't like the flavor of those hops.
But I would also just add that it seemed to have followed me, through my schooling. Like, in elementary school, having him bring in like root beer and talking about that being made and all that. In high school, I did I think one of my English classes required us to do like how it's made presentation.
Right.
I did
You
beer.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and then there was plenty of underage drinking along the way. Some of it,
R&D.
some of it
R&D.
more appropriate. Like I think drinking sips of Sierra Nevada Pale Ale in celebration.
Yeah.
Which I did
Right.
see hidden on one of your lines back there. You
Oh,
have
yeah.
3 bottles. That's amazing.
It's very special to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably the best time of the year when that comes out.
Yeah.
But then, when I turned 21, they gifted me my homebrew kit.
There you go. Rite of passage.
Yep. And
Rite of passage.
he came down and brewed with me my very first beer. And, you know.
Do you remember what that was?
What was it?
It was a pale ale.
Okay.
And, you know, because we had him at the helm basically telling me what to do, it would have turned out great. However, I did not properly read how to prime it with the sugar.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, basically we had the foaming snake effect out of all these beers.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think between then and when I graduated school, I probably did 4 or 5 brews in total, and probably each one was worse than the last because I didn't have
Because
his
I wasn't
guidance.
there.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
And I did ask for his true opinion, and he eviscerated me.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so. So what did you go to school for? Where did you go?
And
So
where?
I went to Northeastern,
Okay.
down in Boston, and I originally went for their music industry program. And when I was making my introductory into that tract, basically a lot of my professors said, if you don't know anyone in the industry, you're kind of shit out of luck. And I was like, I don't know anyone in the industry, so I guess I'm shit out of luck.
Yeah.
That's really supportive of my future dreams.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. But, you know, countless numbers of folks, you know, have people, have family or close friends that, you know, were...
Know people or
yeah.
are in the industry.
Very involved.
Mhm.
Multi-generations of them and all that. So I did the panic pivot to business and did the finance thing, and I was like, well, I guess I'm going to go into banking then.
This
A
is my lot of-
cubicle.
Yeah. And after 3 internships, they opened Tributary. I don't want to get too ahead of myself. If I
No,
don't
you're
have
okay.
to, but, you know, I guess what I would say is that I saw enough middle-aged people coming in on Mondays looking absolutely jaded
Haggled.
to have to return to that life where I'm like, nah, this
Yeah.
isn't what I'm doing. I'm not going to make money.
So we gave Woody a graduation present of an airfare
Okay.
to Europe, and
Oh, awesome.
go have fun, but be back for your sister's wedding. And
Where did you end up going in Europe?
I stayed in Germany the entire time. 3.5 weeks in Germany.
Oh,
And
amazing.
basically came into Munich and made my way up the East Coast. So stopped in a lot of incredible places and
Wonderful.
Only had a beer or two, maybe, right?
And
yeah,
it was-
maybe.
Yeah.
It's kind of faint these
Yeah.
days.
Beer
but
or
it
2
was
dozen.
it was a really powerful time for Woody. It was just such a transition for him to be on his own, not at school, do what he wants. I know he had a hell of a lot of fun, but he came back. He did come back for his sister's wedding.
I made it.
But then kind of pulled us aside and said, hey, you know, I got to talk to you guys. And I was like, oh, Jesus, what? You got somebody pregnant over there?
Oh, so you didn't even think to know it might have been about coming into the brewing industry.
He said, I don't want to sit behind a desk for the rest of my life. I don't want to make money for people. I want to be in the brewing industry. I was like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Oh, boy.
5 years of college for that? I'm kidding.
You gotta find yourself some way. Yeah.
College education is important. You know, Woody knows how to study. Woody did go on to the American Brewers Guild, through, Stephen Park's program, and aced it.
Oh, nice.
And so, but I told Woody, you're not going to work for us yet.
Yeah.
You got to go learn the trade. You got to go work for other people. And he did. And he found himself 2 jobs. So he was working at Wormtown, and at the same time he was working at Stoneface,
Oh, wow.
and
Oh, wow.
living in Alston.
Okay.
And how he got to Worcester was just a mind blow.
Yeah, how did you do
He would
that?
take the train, the commuter train.
Yeah, so the packaging team at Wormtown, you know, I applied for a brewing position. They're like, nope.
You got to take a toothbrush
Very-
and scrub kegs.
Yeah.
Very similar to why Tod turned me away. And so we had to be there probably around 7:30, 8 o'clock, they told me. I was living in the Alston neighborhood of Boston, so not like in the heart of the city. So you have to like take one Green Line train, which is kind of the above ground light rail.
Okay.
Take that to where I can get a commuter train, take the commuter train out to Worcester, Mass. So I was up at like 4:30 to try to get there by 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Nice.
Yeah. Then work all
Sleep
day.
To go clean kegs.
Pretty sure I threw out my back the first day there.
Oh, damn.
But, you learn how to lift kegs correctly.
Yeah. Well, especially I'm assuming you're in your 20s, so your
Yeah.
body's still somewhat flexible at this
Oh,
time.
yes, very much so. And, then I would hopefully catch, like, the 5 o'clock train back to Boston, but that wasn't always the case, so I'd have to twiddle my thumbs for an hour.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, but, hey, lots of reading.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of reading.
Well, that's some dedication, too, and I think that is a large part of this industry and this career is that it doesn't all come so quickly. And I think our generation is kind of one of those that grew up in our middle school, high school with this age of technology and how fast things could be.
Yeah.
And so there is like a good lesson in patience.
Satisfaction.
I started off, keg washing, and I would at this brewery we were doing when I was there 5,000 barrels, and it was easily like 100 to 120 kegs a day
Sweet Jesus.
that I'd have to do, and I did that for about a year and a half, and it
That's
taught.
why his shoulders look the way they do, and that's why we do a lot of yoga now.
Yeah, but it did teach me a lot. At a young age, I was 22 at the time, so I feel like some of the people that jump in early with none of that hands-on knowledge and just a lot of beer theory, it's like, oh, there's going to be a hard learning curve when it comes to just patience, patience and grit.
So talk us through, okay, so you're working these 2 jobs, commuting, sounds like a lot.
Good amount.
Yeah.
A little too much.
Walk us through that progress of, like, from there, where did you go?
Okay, so while I was at Wormtown, Todd also mentioned I was working at Stoneface, which is a brewery over in Newington, New Hampshire, about 10, 15 minutes away from here, not too far. But, originally I was taking the bus up to the nearest station, and then my mom was picking me up and bringing me to work.
Yeah.
So I was doing Mondays and Thursdays in Newington, and then Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Friday in Worcester. And, there was a lot of resilience in my youth, and thank goodness for that, because a lot of partying on the weekend as well, and
work hard, play hard.
spending all
stuff.
little money I was acquiring at that point.
4 or 5 roommates?
5 roommates.
Yeah.
5 roommates, oh my God.
The cheapest you'll ever live.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was great.
It was disgusting.
Yeah, I only allowed them to come once. And
Yeah, you're like, don't come back.
And we're like,
Yeah.
we are not coming back.
Yeah, by their own volition, they're like, we're not going to come check on you anymore. But yeah, so at Stoneface, originally it was packaging, and their owners are 2 very sharp businessmen, and so, they had all the pieces in place to get the expansion to really ramp up. So this was 2015, 2016.
Okay, right. Because they opened the year before us,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. They'd been around for a little bit. And they were like, Woody, we want you to come on full time. Do you think you can do that? And I was like, fuck yes. Because I was, I'm like, I finally got a car in that time. So at least, I got to get like an extra 45 minutes of sleep in the morning and all that.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
amazing.
I was like, if I only have to drive to one place now, that's a massive improvement.
Yeah.
So
And in one state, too.
In
Can
one
we
state.
just, preface that,
Yeah.
too?
And I had, both my folks living up here and still plenty of friends in the area. So I started essentially driving up Monday morning and staying through Thursday afternoon up here. Go back, have a fun Thursday night and the rest of the weekend. So I had my country house and my city living lifestyle.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Best of both worlds.
And but yeah, at Stoneface, to make a long story short, packaging kind of fell into cellaring, and so they kind of at that point there was 5 of us in production, 2 brewers, one of which was Dan Stampone, so he's an early mentor for me.
Nice.
Hello, Dan. And then 2 guys on packaging and myself that's kind of floating around, and then the owners of Stoneface really embellished, having everyone know exactly what to do. So, everyone
Cross-training.
Yeah. So, there were times where us at the lower end of the totem pole were doing brew days pretty quickly, and for better or worse, we all really kind of grew together as a cohesive unit.
Yeah.
And then the expansion continued even more, and they kind of divvied up the packaging space and the brewing space, and they brought in like 6 60-barrel fermenters. So
They got big.
yeah,
Yeah,
very
getting
big,
into
very
some bigger
fast.
volume.
And so that basically put me into brewing probably about a year into working there.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
and
Damn, that's a quick timeline.
yeah,
It's a very
and
quick timeline.
I like to believe that the iceberg of knowledge continues to melt at the top because despite feeling very accomplished, like I was a brewer after a year of kind of learning, what brewers might deem less desirable positions to fill, nonetheless, always new rabbit holes to dive
Yes,
into.
for
And,
sure. You
And
and him.
how long were you at Stoneface?
just about 3 years
3
before
years.
I
Okay.
came here.
Nice.
Yeah, you and him can talk a lot about the other side of
Oh yeah.
brewing.
Oh yeah, I think I might be, for a lot of my friends, the only brewer that I worked about like 5.5 years. I'm like 11, 12 years into my career. First 5.5 were all
Most of
like
it
production.
was all
It was all
production.
production, everything below cellaring. Before I finally got into a cellar job.
Yeah. So, I've heard all the things. So it's great.
It works great. I will say, and we've talked about this before, but if you want to figure out if you really like this industry or not, go work for a big brewery and go work in production.
Yeah.
Just because the information, that's the information speed highway.
Yeah.
Go to a brewery that does, anywhere from 10,000 to 20,000 barrels and work production, and you will learn machine mechanics and all these other tasks really, really quickly because they need you to. And it'll also show you if you can handle, because a lot of it is going to be very physical.
Yeah.
And then you get to adjust that dial for being like, where would I like to take this and go? It's also better on your resume if you're first starting out to work at a big brewery for like a year or two, because then it's like, oh, you're used to doing 20,000 barrels. Cool, you can help us handle 3,000.
Yeah.
Maybe we can throw you in the cellar. So,
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, you worked there, and then what was that transition like for y'all? Was there a
Yeah.
So Ian Goering from Blue Ox was working with me, and I think was Kels.
Travis Kelsey was not Travis
Not-
Kelsey. He's the football
No, he's.
player. Colin.
I think he plays
Colin
Yeah,
Colin.
you're good, you're good.
Colin Kelsey.
He wasn't here. It was the two Ians. So
Oh, it was
Brownie.
Brown and Ian.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and Ian Brown had gotten a job offer to go work at what is now Batson.
oh wow.
And they were looking to call themselves Lucky Dog Brewing.
Oh, okay.
And they got a cease and desist later on. But Brown went, interviewed with them, was like, oh, I'm on board, I'm going to do it. Told us he was leaving. And then he was like, well, you got to change the name because just Lucky Dog's wrong. It's not a good name for it. And they're
Yeah.
like, no, that's the name of the brewery. And he basically disagreed with them and didn't take the job,
Oh, wow.
but had already given his 2-week notice
Notice. Oh.
and left. And it was amicable and everything. And E&G, I was like, okay, well, you got to step up a bit. You're going to become my assistant, my full-time head.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready. Put me in, coach. And Woody, I was like, well, Wood, are you ready to come on board? You're going to be
Yeah,
the ass brewer.
This
the,
was
the assistant brewer.
This was July 4th of 2018, and I was very
Yeah.
hungover, and I got the phone call, and I'm like, blurry-eyed, and I'm like, they're calling me this early,
Something's wrong.
what's going on here? And
I hope Dad didn't cut a finger off.
yeah,
Oh, right.
and
Right.
so they were both on the other line. They're like, how do you feel joining the family business finally? And I'm like, I need to mull it over.
You're like, I need some coffee
need-
and some
Yeah,
breakfast.
yeah.
And some Advil.
Yes.
Yeah.
And another beer, please.
Yeah, but from the time I came into the industry, the goal was to end up here
Right.
Yeah.
and learn from him. I liken working for him, like working for some of the best chefs in the world, like a Jacques Papin or something like that, where attention to detail is critical, and you're going to have to bust your ass to,
I try
make the
to
grade.
I try to train people by showing them how I would do things.
Yeah.
But always leave it open that there's more than one way to do everything.
Yeah.
And what I loved about Stoneface is Woody brought some other ideas and implemented them. And I've always been open. If you can do it better and quicker, let's implement that system.
Yeah.
Because it saves time.
Yeah.
This is time-consuming biz. And so Woody would make some suggestions. I'm like, why didn't I think of that?
Well, I think that's such a beautiful thing for you to have, one, like, been able to experience something so different from the family business and be able to implement that now and just be open to new ideas. And then for you to be open to the new ideas and not say this is the way we do it, like, that's such a beautiful thing.
I mean, we have SOPs, but I was always suggesting anyone new, look at the SOP, rewrite the SOP, how you would do it.
Right.
And so we haven't pushed.
We haven't rewritten them in a while.
No.
But,
Yeah.
And I think it's time for Walker.
yeah.
But I was able to train Walker while Woody was on his honeymoon with Kelsey.
Oh, damn.
A year ago November, right?
Yeah. So
A year ago November. And I hadn't trained anybody in a while. It was like, oh my God, I got to look at the SOPs.
You're like, here's a sheet of paper,
Yeah.
read it, we'll go walk through it.
Yeah. So you read it, and I'll see if I understand it.
Right.
Yeah.
But I've been brewing for 35 years, and I basically know how to do everything. And explaining why I'm doing it takes some recall. And that's water under the dam. It's been gone for quite a few years.
Yeah.
So it's a little more difficult. So now I am in my twilight. I'm ready to kind of. I'm forcing the hand.
I don't think
And-
he's refusing.
No.
But yeah,
No.
love it. He's
No.
like, okay, sounds
You
great.
can't wait for me to leave.
We do need to go back because we heard your story of how you got here to Tributary. But how did you decide to open Tributary? And what did that look like?
So I had been at Portsmouth Brewery for 8 years. I took them from being an okay brewery to being a world-class brewery. And we got the big accolade for Kate the Great. And that kind of set me on that higher plane that allows you to make really tough decisions. And having been there for 8 years, Galen was like, I think you're burning out here. It might be time to move on. And I was like, well, what are you suggesting? I go find a job at Allagash? He's like, no, let's do our own thing. And I'm like, whoa.
Was that something that
Take
never
a
occurred?
risk? Are you kidding me?
There you go.
I've always worked for somebody else,
Gotcha.
and it was never a risk for me. It was following my passion, and so it was never a job. I always enjoyed what I was doing. So
Beautiful.
when Galen said, "Okay, let's take a chance, let's do it for ourselves," I was like, "Oh my God," And most home brewers have that dream.
Yeah.
I'm going to open up a mini brewery.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so what I realized at P Brew was we had 7-barrel brew house. I was like, that's so stupidly small. Let's build it twice that.
Yeah.
Right.
So I had a brew house fabricated and some fermenters fabricated right here in Maine and Gloucester, Massachusetts.
Oh, nice.
And
Did you
I
do
tried
a
to keep it
15 barrel?
local. We're 15.
Okay, yeah.
And I tried to keep it local. And you get what you pay for. And unfortunately, we didn't pay a whole lot.
So there's some character in there.
Oh God! I'd go beyond character. There's some shit in there.
There's some shit there.
But we've learned how to work it. We make decent beer. And so now it's up to Woody to spend more money to make it better.
Yeah. So the brew system was designed to optimally brew German beers. And those right in the wheelhouse of
So like decoction mash. mashing.
more so. So this is 10 years ago where decoction wasn't such a buzzword. So this is like modern German brewing where it's
Upward infusion.
Upward infusion.
Okay.
And
Can you explain that? Sorry, not trying to
Yeah,
cut you
sure.
off.
Well, so upward infusion is basically taking care of very similar enzyme reactions that we're seeing through decoction. So, instead of drawing mash out, bringing that to a boil and heat and reintroducing it to raise your mash level, essentially we are just able to use a
applying
heat source.
steam.
Yep.
Oh, okay,
yep. So,
gotcha.
To the jackets.
very strong steam jackets, and we would be mashing in for acid rest temperatures because why not just try to make it as freaking authentic as you can?
Yeah.
And then hitting the protein alpha beta.
Yeah.
And then mashing out from there.
Wow.
And to make a long story, or Todd, if you want to tell them about the first brew day.
Yeah, tell us.
On your brand new brew
My
house.
brand new brew house. We're
so
going to
excited
do a
about.
stepped mash, and I think it was it.
You must have been doing
porter,
pale ale.
or it was the pale.
Got to start with the pale.
Got to
Okay.
start with the pale.
And I doughed in. It was just going to be a pale ale, so it was going to be 2 steps. And doughed in at 162, stabilized at 148. Perfect. It's like, oh yeah, hit it.
Yeah.
Now let's raise the temp. So we brought it up to 167. Hit one. I think we were 168, maybe 169, 170. But we were stable,
Within range.
within range, and we had a nice viscous mash. It was pretty thick, and it's like, all right, let's transfer it to the lauter tun. So I go and put water in the lauter tun, and I'm counting the minutes it takes to lay the foundation under the plates.
Yeah.
72 frickin' gallons. It's 2 barrels of water under the plates before we
damn.
get water above the plates. I'm like, ooh, holy shit! I didn't even. Oh, whoa! So that's 2 barrels of liquid.
Yeah.
There's no extract in that. That's dilution. Oh my god! I need more mash. I need more malt. And I'm like, no, we're just going to go with it. So we start transferring the mash, and it moves, it's starting to move. I'm like, yeah, all right. And we're getting about a third of the way down, and it's slowing down, and it's not moving at all. And I'm like, holy shit, what's going on? It was too thick.
It stuck it.
So I had to thin the mash. No, this was in the kettle.
Oh,
so
this
we
is
had
in
a
the
mash
kettle.
that we were transferring through a 3-inch transfer pipe that then reduced to 2 inches, then reduced to 1.5 inches to the suction side of the pump. It was like, holy fuck. I had to dilute almost the entire sparge water to get the mash transferred into the kettle.
Wow.
Had beaten the living bejesus out of the grain, transferred it into the lauter tun, finally, and I think we had about 100 gallons to sparge. But while we were in the mash tun, I started Vorloff. I let it rest for 10 minutes. I started Vorloff. I goddamn stuck the mash right away. I think my runoff was 5 hours that day.
Oh,
and I
that's
sparged
brutal.
And I sparged 100 gallons of mash of sparge water. So I'm like, holy shit, what the hell's going on here? And I kind of figured things out a little bit. Long story short is we don't use the mash kettle the way you should.
Oh.
And one of the things I want to do when I do take a serious step back is install the correct size piping
Yeah,
to go
for
from
that.
the kettle to the lauter tun. And I also want a new lauter tun. So I've got to spend probably another $10,000 to $15,000.
Yeah.
But I think it would be worth it
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
because then we could do upward infusions, but I want to figure out how we could do decoctions as well.
We could kind of do a faux one-step decoction, which I'm sure those who are abiding by the super traditional methods will be wagging their finger at us. But I think just to kind of do a quick sidestep that I'd like to say that Tod is the master of malt, and his attention to detail and the nuances that you can get from these all these specialty malts that we have at our fingertips nowadays. We're making the best beer we can on this piece of shit system we have. That I think more or less is able to kind of cover exactly what people are looking for in these different beers.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. That's also part of the resilience, I think, of brewers, is sometimes as you learn and get better in your system, you realize I don't have the best equipment, but I don't have the money to replace it.
Right.
I can't produce sub-quality beer, and so you just
figure it out.
I think there's no better way to allow your brain to troubleshoot than having to be stuck with hard problems.
Yeah. Well, you figure it out.
Yeah.
You have to.
You have to.
And we have. And we're still playing with our lauter ton because we do have that 72 gallons underneath.
Yeah.
And what we found is that, because the malts are so well modified now, you really don't have to do that many steps. You can do a single temperature and achieve, upwards of 82, 88% attenuation.
Yeah.
So our thinking is, well, let's get by for a little bit longer. One thing I do have to say is Tributary is debt-free now. We became debt-free in January.
That's wild.
Oh, congratulations.
That's
10 years.
That's so awesome, y'all.
10 years
I
we
think
paid
you're one of-
down.
One of two.
One of
one
breweries, debt free.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And, I mean, the one thing we did not want to do was have debt load over our shoulders for the rest of
For the
our
rest of your
lives.
life, yeah.
So we did, we kind of shortchanged some things.
Yeah.
There's some things we bought that were worthy, and all the secondary tanks we've bought have been pretty much better than the first tanks we bought.
Right.
And
It's
Woody,
amazing.
Woody will be, taking over debt-free now, which is really, really cool.
Well, debt-free in a way because
Well, we're not giving it to him.
No.
Right.
This is
Yes.
going to be a leveraged
Business.
buyout, and basically I'm in debt to mom and dad. So.
Yeah.
Which is the best place to be, because
Yeah.
A very forgiving bank.
yes, we are.
Well, it's just I think it's a really cool story because we don't ever get to really hear about I don't think I've heard of many. I think of one brewery that's kind of been a family-ish transaction, but at the same time, the passion and love that y'all have for it, and the lives that y'all have been able to build, and the enjoyment. I think that's far beyond anything else of what a family business on a different industry would look like. So I think it's just really cool because I think for our industry, or for at least our friends too, our friends are bringing up kids now. We meet them at breweries, and that's where we get to hang out. Is because we can go hang out at a brewery for a couple hours and have some food, and it's not a restaurant, but there's food or not food, and you get to. Kids nowadays are growing up more in breweries,
Yeah.
and I think it just depends on your stance and whatnot. But I think it's a cool place to be, and to hear someone who literally grew up. I always say that I grew up on a pew with my family in the church. But for you to be able to grow up in a brewery and understand and find the enjoyment from it and passion, not many people get to say that.
True.
And I think that's a really beautiful story, and
Yeah.
I don't know, it'll be cool to hear, in a couple of years we'll come back and we'll talk to you and see how things are going.
I'll be in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
There'll be a new brew house system in place.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It'll be fully automated.
There you go. I don't think you'll be in a wheelchair, but you can't push buttons.
Yeah. You're that's
hire you
wrong.
again.
Yeah.
It's Bluetooth driven.
There you go.
Can we talk about the name Tributary? What does that mean for you and the family?
Again, so I married a woman over 41 years ago who I fell in love with her. She's my partner. She's brilliant, let me tell you, because we have two incredible kids. We have a grandchild now. Hopefully we're going to have some more soon. But not to put any pressure on. But we we went on a really incredible trip down the Grand Canyon River, the Colorado River through the Grand Canyon. And on our way in, we were in the process of writing our business plan. And our business plan was ABC business plan, not yet to be determined, named to be determined.
Mm-hmm.
And we're flying over, it's like somewhere in Arizona as we're coming into Flagstaff. And Galen kind of nudges me and says, I've got it. I'm like, what? I got the name of the brewery. I'm like, what? Tell me. It's like, Tributary. I'm like, oh my God. She's like, all the little rivers, all the streams, all the little tiny rivulets that drop into the Colorado are called tributaries. And those tributaries then lead to bigger rivers that then lead to the ocean. And you've always said that making beer it's an amalgamation of all these ingredients. It's water, it's hops, it's yeast, and it's, what's the fourth ingredient, Woody? Malt, in any event. She said, it's a metaphor for making beers, tributary. And then she said,
beautiful.
And one tributary leads to another. And she came up with a tagline.
Double whammy.
So whoa.
Yeah, that's a
powerful
powerful person.
Can
That's
you
amazing.
imagine spending the money to get that from some
Anybody,
advertising agency?
No.
It happened on our flight to the Grand Canyon.
Before, y'all were still writing the business plan, all this stuff.
We were still in the
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
And then we had the name.
Yeah, I love it.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So it was really cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. That's also that's very much so in this industry. Like breweries don't survive without farmers, but without community, without customers, without every bit, every
Without malt houses,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
Hop growers.
hop growers,
yeah.
all the things.
It is interesting to see how I think over the years, so much of one point in this industry that people just see, like the beer in their pint glass, but there's so many people and hands that it touches before it gets to you to get to drink it.
Yeah.
And I think in a day and age where it's really easy to get caught up in stuff that is not in your own bubble, like in your own community, you're focused on things you don't even see what's growing around you or how things are changing. And I think this industry is one of those places where you can literally go step by step and meet these people. And it's there's something intimate and special about that.
Yeah. And it's not just because we were just at Blue Ox last week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's just an incredible story, hearing the family, the passion, I don't know, just the everything.
Did you have forethought that your kids were going to take over the brewery?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really. When Woody went to Northeastern, we were like, oh, zippity doo-dah. He's going to be in the finance world. He's going to make money. It's not going to be like us paupers, living paycheck to paycheck. And then he comes back and says, hey, I want to get in the industry. I'm like, oh, my God, no.
Yeah, because to kind of
But I was actually really, really proud of him.
So he told us that he was leaving Portsmouth Brewery. It was Easter weekend of probably 2012, yeah. And we were in New York City. My grandma and my mom were off seeing an opera, and he took my sister, my brother-in-law to Italy. So this very schwanky rooftop bar that has just Italian beers. So
nice.
Drinking,
really cool.
Birria,
Birrificio.
Yeah. And he's like, guys, I have something to tell you. And I'm going to start my own brewery. And we were very psyched about that. I know both my sister and my brother-in-law were very into craft beer. I was into it. And so, we were very supportive of you in that decision. And then jump forward a few years, I was in my last year of college and I took a family business course. And I was, that was the writing in the wall where kind of my professor was, giving us all these frameworks and talking about inimitable facets of a family business. And I'm like, well, Jesus Christ, he's the inimitable facet of the family business. And I was like, so this was before I asked him if I could work for him, and he said no. But
you have to learn.
Yeah,
and not from me.
Yeah, and that worked out well. But to make a long story short, just I knew then and there that there was no way in hell that I was going to be in a bank. And
well, that's amazing. It's cool to see these little points in the story that it's almost like the universe is just giving like little nudges or just destiny,
Absolutely.
whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And you're just like, huh. All right, I don't know when I'll use that, but I might use that later or now.
Yeah,
that happened. That worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so incredible. You and your wife have decided to start a brewery. You've landed on a name. How did y'all land on the location?
That was a kind of wayward thing. We had a location that somebody had suggested. We talked to this guy who was going to build out a location for us. It was further up on Route 1, right near the York border. And he had a whole parcel of land, and he works excavation and stuff like that. So Charlie was going to build us a place, and he said, all you have to do is just, you just rent the place from me. And as he started realizing that building a brewery involves a lot of infrastructure, he started hemming and hawing and pulled back. And, we were 6 months into moving forward and just about to break ground. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to need like $200,000 to $500,000 to do this.
Wow.
And I was like, well, wait, what? So we closed that chapter.
Gotcha.
But, we were 6 months into, what we thought would be, okay, here we go. And then we started looking for places. And I cannot remember how we found this, but it was vacant. The post office was still there, parking lot. It was a supermarket. It was called Dan's Star Market. Debbie Driscoll, Dan's daughter, was running the real estate company that her father started. And so this building has been, I think it was in use from 62 to 88. And then it closed. And it was reincarnated as Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, which I think is really funny.
Oh, wow.
For, having a brewery in here.
That's a full life cycle.
Yeah, exactly. And then it was a used furniture store, and it was a community center, and a kids like daycare place. So it had been transitioning through lots and lots of stuff. And we got here, and man, it was scary. It was just dank and gross. But I saw it had slab on grade, which is just great for a brewery. And then there was a 9,000 square foot basement that was dry.
Oh, there's a basement under here?
So this was a supermarket. And like these doors weren't here, and that window wasn't there, that door wasn't there, that window.
Okay.
Where the Blue Mermaid is, those were the windows.
The windows for the
And
open.
this area was actually the floor. And, we put up walls and stuff.
Yeah.
I see, but it's all open.
It was all open. But there was the wall there, and that was meat and produce.
Okay.
And then, and that's where they processed all the
meat.
Yeah, but then in the post office, it was, mirror image. So we had our side and they had their side. So meat and poultry, and then dairy and produce were over there.
Gotcha.
And then they would package everything and put it in the refrigerated section. But downstairs was dry warehousing. And they had an elevator that used to lift all the dry goods from the basement up. And
they don't do that nowadays for grocery stores.
It's gone. The elevator's gone. But the basement
the basement's still there.
wide open. And man, it'd be really cool to have like a hockey rink down there.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Indoor hockey rink. I love that.
A rollerblade or something.
Yeah.
It'd be really fun.
Have a couple pints and get on the ice.
Yeah. Or maybe a bocce court or something.
Oh, yes.
But
pickleball
there's a
nowadays.
huge.
Everyone's saying pickleball.
Buzzword.
Right?
There's 8 feet of headroom, so
There you go.
It's pretty good. But we have our mill drops into a grist case downstairs, and we have our boiler downstairs.
Oh, gotcha.
And then we do stored kegs and
A lot of riffraff down there.
riffraff.
Yeah.
Yeah, just extra
We have all our
things that you will
empty
eventually need.
growlers down there because COVID. I'm segueing. I'm
You're
sorry.
okay.
No, don't be.
Um,
Yes, the glass growler life was so prominent, and then it all just got flatlined.
I swore I would never can beer.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry.
Dale's changed that.
Yeah.
And the improvement into the can is just had to join.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was necessary to just stay alive. I think.
Had to.
Yeah.
Had
So
to.
it's like the pivot to, it's like, do you stand on that or do you keep your business open? And,
Yeah.
I loved a good growler. I also struggled. Nowadays, I
Well, it's just like
probably would,
recycled
yeah.
grocery bags. We keep forgetting to bring them in, so we
Yeah.
buy more, and then you end up with 15 recycled grocery bags.
And you got to go, okay, where do we put these?
Exactly. You forget your
Yeah.
growler.
Landfill. I got to
And
go
I
back to the
remember-
plastic people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
there's
sure.
also, I think there was also an incentive to push because that was right around recycling, and aluminum, I think, was making a big push on why it was better than glass containers. And that was like a big part of it too that I recognized because we had a lot of people, like it was quintessential to buy like a 22-ounce
yeah.
bomber bottle, or it came in those 16.9, 500 mil
Right,
bottles,
right.
and that's how beer was done.
Yeah.
And the reason for that too is glass is also, you could be really sanitary with glass and the recycle use of it. But
Yeah, no,
yep,
for sure.
everything changes.
It
Yeah.
does. Okay,
I mean,
so
Maine beer is still, they've got their integrity. They
Yeah.
are never going to can.
they do. So y'all were at grocery store. So you came in. What was it like opening? Like, what was the community feel like? Did y'all?
We are community based,
Yeah.
period.
We can feel it. We're in the tap room now.
Yeah.
Like we feel it.
Yeah.
We understand it. Yeah.
Wednesdays are always quiet. It's we're closed on Mondays and Tuesdays, and Wednesdays always kind of like slow. But you do get.
These looks like some
stragglers here and there.
regulars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I noticed the bartender knows everybody by
Of
name,
course.
first name basis,
Yeah.
which is
Again,
beautiful.
community.
Yeah.
And Thursdays, you never know.
Yeah.
Fridays are always really great. Saturdays are awesome.
Yeah.
Sundays are great. So
Yeah, I love
we are community based, but we got a lot of people that are traveling up to Maine,
on the
north,
way.
and they've been here once and they always come back. It's so
Yeah.
cool.
That's a cool
It's
impact.
so cool. And for 10 years, we've had people coming back,
Mm-hmm.
and the even cooler thing is people that had babies.
Oh yeah. They're
And now
out.
they've got 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa.
Just 11 years to go.
Right. Yeah. You're like, we're almost
Yeah.
there.
Exactly.
Long game. This. I don't mind if Gen Z doesn't want to be drinking as much. I want
Right.
Gen Alpha or Beta or I don't know what they are.
I don't know
The
what the
one
system
after
goes
that?
after
but I
that.
want those ones.
Yeah.
There you
for
go.
Sure.
It is funny. Someone did say that the Gen Z doesn't drink as much craft beer, and it's like, well, because we all started getting into drinking age when craft beer was at its height.
Yeah.
And we were like, hey, it'd be really cool if we worked in the industry. So we went from paying customers to just working
actually
in it.
working.
And I was like, that's where the dip happened. We need to get ourselves out from the brewery and just be buying more beer.
No, for sure. Do you remember the beers that you opened with?
Yeah, we opened with one beer. It was a pale ale.
Okay, I was gonna say pale ale just because y'all have said it.
Yeah,
couple
that is
times.
our flagship.
Yeah.
And you will have to get you some because
Yeah.
it's just yummy.
Yeah.
What was
And it's transitioned, but it was designed. I've always loved an IPA. Back in when I was a Harpoon, Mass Bay Brewing Company, when I was there,
wow.
I designed their IPA, and that was '92, I think. And
And our
but-
viewers will know this, but Harpoon IPA is quintessential
Yeah.
and so big. So
it's
it's
all
so
over. It's all
humbling
over.
that you just say that so quietly. Like when I designed their IPA for Harpoon before it was Mass Brewing
I
Company.
even know that, and I didn't grow up in the industry. I came in very late, and I even know about.
Yeah,
the
that's so
Harpoon.
huge.
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
But long story short is that I wanted a beer I could drink, and Harpoon IPA changed dramatically. I left there '93, and over the course of years, it's different. It's
Yeah.
very, very different
Yeah.
from when I originally made it. But that's transition in breweries and stuff.
Well, and I think the ingredients change,
Yeah.
and the water changes,
Yep.
and there's so many dynamics.
Yeah.
Like you said, Tributary, like there's so many things that go into it.
Absolutely.
And there's so much change that can happen. Like
Absolutely.
it's going to happen.
And we have really beautiful water. It's municipal town water.
Mm-hmm.
It is chlorinated, so we do filter it. We've got a really great activated carbon charcoal filter.
Oh, wonderful.
So it's as basic as you can get, but the water coming to us is absolutely beautiful. It's great for making ales.
Nice.
So what I really wanted as our flagship is a beer that drinks like an IPA, but doesn't have the alcohol content. And
Right.
so I made a pale ale that was hop forward, had a little malt backbone, just like an IPA, and I can drink it all day long.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's the point of it. I think if you're going to open your own brewery, you're going to want to enjoy
You want
the beer.
you want to
that
enjoy
you're
the beer that you
drinking.
make, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that so much. Do you remember when they opened?
So they opened on my birthday, and I was the morning they opened. I was very hungover, but they called to wish me happy birthday, and there was like a line out the door. So, Todd touched on the Kate the Great at Portsmouth Brewery phenomenon, and so when he left P Brew, that was 2012, and so there was
2 years.
2 years. And he still had this clout and excitement around him. And, there was no mechanical dishwasher here. And I heard you guys got absolutely slammed while I was just milking my hangover.
Yeah,
Could have used the extra hands.
But I did quickly come up and help out a few weekends and everything.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
it was definitely getting to be a part of that and see, the influx of excited drinkers and everything like that was definitely.
So we started with the pale
Lovely.
ale, and then a week later we had a brown ale, and then a week
Goza?
later we had the
Goza,
Goza.
please?
Wow.
2015 was the year of
Yeah,
Goza for
I
sure.
think it was.
You also saw it was like Goza and then Brute followed shortly after, which I think is almost like they're sisters on different ends of the spectrum. Because one's tart and acidic, but just I think is like bubbly and bright, and then the other one is like that hop and not acidic, but it has that bubbly and bright character.
I love a good brew.
Yeah.
Don't follow me.
Yeah, Brute
I love
IPA.
a good
We
brew.
made a pretty damn good one back in the day. That
Haven't followed up.
Yeah.
we made it twice, and then
Yeah.
apparently on the East Coast it died.
Well, I
If
think it
you're not-
died
Oh,
everywhere.
it died everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It died everywhere. I
So
can't find
sad.
it anywhere, so it's fine.
Yeah.
I'll just have him make it one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah,
go.
exactly. So,
Perfect.
yeah. Okay, so what does the future look like for Tributary?
Ooh.
That's a great question. I wish I knew.
Karnak. Karnak the Great.
Karnak.
How does it also feel to like be in this transitioning role where you are taking more of a lead in a family business that's been beloved for so long?
I feel like I should be a lot more nerve-wracked than I am. I'd say that I think I know that I need to start kind of branching out from the production side. I think I need to honestly, unfortunately, our other brewer Walker is really on top of his game these days. He came in super green, so it took him a while to get up to snuff. But fortunately, he's there now, so I need to just let him have at the brewery for the day, and I think I need to get out there and
Focus on
literally
other things.
sell the beer. 'Cause,
Yeah.
we have distributors both here in Maine and in southern New Hampshire, and it's very apparent that when you go and sign on to a distributor, they're
all
gonna
gung-ho.
love you. The beer's gonna sell itself. They'll promise you the world, and then if you don't have a
Follow up.
salesperson yourself,
Yeah.
we've more or less seen two markets totally
Just fold.
peter out on us.
Yeah.
And so that's telling me, I got to kind of, I've spent
Follow
so
through.
long emulating the Tod formula that I got to start to, emulate the Jim Cook formula.
Sell a
Because-
fucking beer.
Yeah, and I think because I just love the beer that I produce and that we work very diligently in creating that, I think I could, talk sweet about it to people and try to, get more of it out there. So, I want, as I said earlier in the podcast, we're making like 700 to 900 barrels of beer. We're very small. Todd's philosophy is brewing low and slow, and I very much have fallen into that tract as well and seeing the benefit of that instead of the churning. But, we're a couple weeks out from...
We will sell no beer before it's time.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good to have.
But I've always been, let the beer tell you when it's ready.
Yeah.
Taste it, look at it, use your senses. That's the most important thing.
Right.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
Because we're a few weeks out from bringing in 2 new lagering tanks.
Congratulations.
We've done contract brewing in the past few years and had not great
Success.
Well, we were able to sell the beer.
We sold the beer, but
it
But it wasn't up to
So
true to standard.
expensive.
I see. So expensive.
It's just too
expensive. The quality was a little bit
So it
lower
wasn't true to
than
standard
what we
for y'all.
produced. Yep. So, we brought in an extra cylindrical tank, and now we can do all the pale ale here without
contracting.
contracting. And now we we make a lot of different kind of lagers. We are also on that lager excitement train.
We're here for it.
Oh yes, we should all participate in it.
I think
as
every
much as
mature
possible.
drinker, that's
We
free.
Finally.
That's
We love
free.
we love a good IPA.
There's
Yeah.
no question about it.
We love a good IPA.
Yeah.
But I want to drink lagers.
But I want
days.
IPAs that are a little differentiated.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Galaxy Citra Mosaic is just driving me nuts because they all fucking taste the same.
Yeah,
It's like,
when I was in Portland, Oregon, about every single person that you asked who brewed like a very hoppy and very quintessential what they called IPA.
West Coast IPA.
Exactly
Yeah.
was. It was like Citra, Simcoe, Mosaic. That was like it all the
It's
time. And if there was a
always-
substitute, it might have been Amarillo. But
Yeah.
it was like literally just 3 hops. And I was like, how can we say these are all different? Of course, you can change it with grain,
Yeah,
yeast,
yeah.
water profile. But I'm like,
yeah.
you're still just keeping this component the same. And we have this wide variety of hops now. We have
that's
such a wider
insane.
selection of ingredients. They're finer crafted. And there's so much more. And I'm like, why aren't we using all these different aspects? So, and to educate people too. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Sabro. I know when we have our little pilot system, I'm going to do a Sabro single
Yeah.
hop, just because I think that hop is amazing, and it can be strawberry or it can be coconut, and I'm like, I think that's just really fun to play with,
Yeah.
and it's not like I'm throwing things in there, and done right, it'll do well.
Well, like you said before, it's a craft. It's a science. It's an art form. Like
Sure.
it's
Absolutely.
going to turn out, if you were to do the same painting or sculpture or pottery every single time, obviously for like a plate, maybe, but you want some differentiation.
Right.
And it is a craft, and it should be. It's called craft beer. So
Right. Absolutely.
it needs to be differentiated.
Handcrafted.
Yeah, for sure. Love that so much. Okay, so are we ready for our last few questions?
Yeah, if you want to.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there anything else y'all want to share before we jump into these last few questions?
We've got this amazing community.
Mm-hmm.
People love coming in here on Saturdays. We've got music from 4 to 6, and we have a wide variety of music available. There's Kittery's just a really hot spot
It
for
is cool.
good food, good music, good bars.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great little community, and so we're in a very good place.
Yeah.
And Galen and I are ready to move this forward so that Woody can take it to the next level, and that we are always going to be around. We live up in Southborough, just 15 minutes away, 20
Oh,
minutes away.
nice.
So we don't live right in Kittery, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Except when there's an emergency, and
But you're close by.
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And you also have other capable people to
Yeah.
take care of it as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
We love the trend.
It'll be cool to see the cool that evolution in chapter. I bet it can be kind of hard, but it's exciting too. Where this is
absolutely.
This is obviously beloved. Again, we've been here since September, and numerous people, not just from, I work at REI part time, but from Banded Brewing, from Oxbow Brewing, everybody's talked highly of Tributary. The people that work there, obviously,
Blue
who
Ox
you are
also,
and this just like giant, it seems like this giant hero figure. So it'll be cool to kind of see the torch passing, and it's not changing all on its own, but it'll be like the next evolution of what's coming forward in the future. I think that's going to be really awesome.
Yeah, I think in terms of like the portfolio of beers we make, I don't think we're going to. I have no ambition to try to reinvent the wheel here. Just continue to fine tune and every now and then try to bring something new and fun to the table, which we're lucky that
Woody's been very good at.
Yeah, we're lucky that we are the size we are because we're afforded the opportunity to be creative. And I look to Tod as kind of a very special pioneer in that regard for craft brewing because he's been doing it since his homebrew days, and that's followed him to here, and I want to try to continue that legacy.
Yeah,
Nice.
I love that. No.
I know this seems like a weird inverse, but what's that been like for a son to watch your dad? Is there a sort of greatness or proudness about it? Because
without a doubt.
Okay.
I think I was in 7th grade, and I don't know how the hell these people found out, but I had like a bunch of 8th graders come to my table, and they were like, "We heard your dad's a brewer." I'm like, "Do you drink beer at home like all the time?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do actually."
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
But
My dad has a tap in the basement.
There you go.
That's unlocked.
Yeah, well used. It's incredible because I see him and he's literally just dad. Like I was talking about going rollerblading with him, like when I was like a little kid.
Yeah.
Like I remember that a whole heck of a lot. He would come home from work after brewing and he would like wrestle with me, which was basically, just like picking me up when I was a little kid and like just like
Tossing
suplexing
you,
me on the sofa and stuff. So
Love it.
Body slam.
I'm tired and sore right now, so I don't know how the frick he did it back then, but look at him nonetheless. And then, getting to be privileged into a lot of incredible opportunities with him as I've grown. Like, for instance, we went to CBC out in Denver in 2018, and, I don't believe that, Peter Buchert, his brewery was not open that day, but he let Tod and us in.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I also have another quick funny story about Peter Buchert because he came and I think brewed with Tod at P-Brew, and I was studying for my ACTs, and he just asked me, he stayed at our house that night, and so I'm like, who the hell is this Belgian dude?
He has such a funny voice.
Yeah. And so, the list just goes on of all these incredible opportunities I've had, and, without the, I think, congeniality in which Tod holds himself, I think my life and my growing up period would have been a lot less interesting. And, I've been spoiled, and I hope to pay it forward with grandchildren and friends and everything else.
Yeah.
No, and you seem like you have been.
Yeah.
I've just been very lucky because I got in the industry when I did.
Yeah.
It was just timing. And I happened to be passionate, and I happened to love what I was doing. And, the whole process of making clay is rhythmic. And it's the same idea behind beer. And so when I met people, anywhere I went, it was more than likely beer-oriented as I was, getting into the industry. I would just, converse and question people and get the conversation going and just get to know people.
Yeah.
And I've just been so freaking fortunate that all the people I got to know just happened to be super good at what they did. And so, parlaying that to this kid was just, hey, Wood, come meet Paul and Destiny. They're really sweet. And, Woody and Kels went up to visit, and it just happened that they were doing a beer dinner. And it was a beer and cheese, and
it was at one of Stowe's more highbrow clubs within the ski resort, and Kelsey and I were like, we did not pack for this. We thought
Yeah.
we were going to be at a pub or something.
A little underdressed.
A little underdressed.
You know, it was like one of those beer dinners where they're like flying in fish from Hawaii overnight, and like,
Oh,
Okay.
damn.
well, I'm never gonna be able to eat this again,
Right?
but
Oh my gosh.
I'll relish it.
Yeah. So
Timing's
amazing.
everything.
Yeah.
It is. It really is. And like I think for both of you, like timing is everything. And like for you to experience what you had experienced, like you have this knowledge of business that maybe you didn't have, but you have this knowledge of the arts and the craft. And so I think, you bring two different things to the table, and I think that's what beer is about. It's like it's a collaborative effort. It's
Yeah.
not just one person, and I think
Absolutely.
I think it's just a beautiful thing that like I don't know, it's all in the family, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it's really special.
It's really special. Okay, so last two questions for y'all
Perfect.
before I break down in tears because I love y'all. If y'all were to give a piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Follow your passion. Find something you love and do it. And dig deep. A ceramics professor I had, Ken Ferguson, always said, dig a very deep well and keep going back to it. Keep going back to it. So I was a voracious reader. I read Michael Jackson's World Guide back and forth, and tried to learn about beers. And Fred Eckhart from Portland had the little beer guide, unbelievable. I homebrewed. Charlie Papazian, got the guru. Byron Birch, oh my God, all these people. And just be passionate.
Be passionate.
And enjoy what you do. Make sure you enjoy what you do. Because if you don't enjoy it, don't follow it, because that's just going to turn you sour.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love it so much.
That's beautiful.
For you, Woody?
For myself, the passion was there. I think the curiosity was there. He gave me the beer encyclopedia that Garrett Oliver put out, and I was reading that in my spare time. So I think fortunately I had that instilled in me. But one thing I wish I did was take a few freaking courses in biology in college, because I've learned about it. I did the ABG program accreditation, and I had to kind of learn things on the fly. But I wish I just had a little bit more of a foundation within that.
Yeah.
And I think it would have paid me some good fortune.
All the really good brewers right now are science oriented.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
And you have to be.
Yeah.
I was, fortunate enough that I knew enough through the chemistry that I had at ceramics, so I could figure some things out. But it's, the biology is really, biochemistry is just so important.
Yeah. Well, especially now that you're able to access so much data about everything. If there's a problem, it's exactly what to do with it. And if you just don't know the language or don't want to read the information, it's it gets kind of on you.
Yeah.
Whereas back then, some people could just smell, off gas and be like,
Oh.
I think fermentation's about done. Can't tell you why, but I think it's about done.
It's getting, it's actually smelling clean.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, and our last question. What's up for Tributary in this next year? What are y'all excited about? Any parties, anniversaries, collaborations?
So we had our
beers?
10th. We had our 10th anniversary last September.
Oh.
So that
Oh,
was
congrats.
huge.
Yeah.
But we do release Mata Lesser twice a year,
Okay.
and
What's that?
that's our Imperial Stout.
Okay.
And we always barrel age portion of it and stainless steel age the other half of it. And so we do that in April and October. So April's brew is in with a ruby and a tawny port, but also a white port barrel.
Oh, wow.
So we've got...
Oh, that's going to be lovely.
Yeah. And then Woody just... Last weekend, I'm sorry you guys weren't here, we had our Big Beer Saturday. And we had 4 large format
Stouts.
beers.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So we had Mata Lesser that Woody had. We blended everything.
The barrels.
So those were tawny ruby and Madeira,
Mm-hmm.
and we blended those back. But Woody then took the 62 gallons from the Madeira barrel, or put 62 gallons back into the Madeira barrel and aged it for 3.5 months. And then we bottled that singly as Mata Lesserer.
Oh, nice.
I've got a couple bottles for you guys.
Oh, thank you so
That'd
much.
be amazing
No,
to
that
try.
it reminds me of like the second runnings, how that's how beer used to be
Pretty
done.
much.
Yeah, love it.
Whenever we are preemptively blending Mott, we always just taste each barrel independently, and just holy shit, the Madeira barrel.
The Madeira barrel is crazy.
It was it just had this like
Concord grape.
Concord grape
Oh.
character.
Okay.
that,
Yeah,
It's
like,
so fruity.
yeah,
Nice.
and just works with what kind of style of imperial stout Mott is, which isn't like this massive and thick beer like you see a lot, and it's kind of become ubiquitous for the imperial stout nowadays. This is 10.5%, so pretty approachable for
No,
imperial.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's more medium bodied and has a very dry finish, so it's like very very dessert friendly, and just the way that these vinous characters from the fortified wines interplay with it, it's really delightful.
Oh,
And,
wow.
That's amazing.
So
Oh, we're
excited.
I
so
hope you guys
excited.
Yeah.
get to enjoy them down the road with.
So we
some
do
other
that. We do
wines.
that twice a year.
Okay.
That's
and those
special.
are, I don't think we have anything really huge planned.
Your 11th
So,
anniversary party in September?
It'll be kind of mellow.
We've got a,
Oh.
although there is a double barrel aged barley wine we're excited about that's been hanging out in
Oh,
some
yeah.
Oh, nice.
Tomcat gin and
And
another
that,
Madeira
yeah.
barrel. So
Yeah.
just
Oh,
moving,
amazing.
bouncing that around. But what I'm very excited about, which is right around the corner, and throwing some appreciation towards Ian and the crew at Blue Walks.
Oh,
is
please
that,
tell me it's like a Grodziski or something.
Unfortunately,
Not yet.
Not
Not
that.
yet.
Okay,
Okay.
all in
They got to
time.
make that smoked. That
Yeah.
birch smoked.
Yeah.
But we've been dabbling in kind of breaking free of Reinheitsgebot and using non-approved malts in our Bock beers, and we come
awesome.
out with one Bock a year. And so we had Ian come down.
It's
I
a
think
Doppelbock
I
usually.
think Joe came through as well, but then we had Paul and Destiny and Barclay from Zero Gravity here.
Okay.
And we brewed an oat bock, which is
Oh, rad.
a Maibach that features about 40% oats between malted oats and golden naked oats
Wow.
from Simpsons.
We had the
Damn.
golden naked oat, didn't we?
Oh.
We did over
Those are
at
too
Blocks.
damn tasty.
It
Yeah.
was so good.
They're playing around with
The spelt,
The
right?
spelt.
The
Yeah.
spelt,
golden
yeah.
naked spelt.
Yeah.
yeah. But
That's
it-
going to be so fun.
That's
Very
exciting.
exciting.
Yeah,
I
I'll
love
grab you
spring
guys a
for
sample
my
when we're
box.
done.
Yeah.
I worked at this bottle shop in Portland, Oregon called Belmont Station, and we have a huge beer selection. And always around springtime is when we got my box in the bottles.
Oh, yeah.
And that was always my staff pick. And people, again, being in such an IPA heavy place, people were like, "Oh, why would you suggest that?" I'm like, "This is traditionally how it's done."
Yeah.
It's springtime.
It's springtime. Yeah.
Look at the time of year, guys.
Yeah.
That's when it's
That's
right.
so exciting. That sounds amazing. I'm sad we're not going to be around for it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to go try some.
Yeah.
Yep,
once
we'll
we're
just
out.
right
Oh
off the
shoot! Oh
tank.
darn!
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap
It's
this
almost
up.
done.
Well, thank y'all so much.
Absolutely.
This has been so
Sincerely.
amazing.
It's a pleasure.
Sharing
Thank
y'all's
you so
story
much.
is so great. So cheers, y'all.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.